Hello my snacks, welcome back, my name is Jack. Our tale today begins in True Off My Chest, where our OP, a man at the age of 32, learns the harsh truth as to why maybe you should respect your partner's privacy, and general requests. Also, quick warning of the triggers here, there are some dark tales in this story. It begins as, I'm losing my fiance because I did something against her wish. I'm a 32 male and I proposed to my fiancée, who's 39, 2 months ago, and she said yes. I love her with all my heart. She's very sweet and intelligent and drop dead hot. Only problem that we were facing was that I haven't met her family because she has not had any contact with them for 20 years. And for my family, that's a red flag. Mum suggested to me that since we are engaged now, they're my family too, so we contacted them.
Such a terrible argument!
Well, her mum was so sweet, and she started crying the moment I introduced myself. Her father is also very kind. They talked to me about her childhood, how wonderful and kind she always had been, and it made a lot of sense what she turned up to be. I thanked them for raising such a beautiful human. How sweet. Her parents showed you their best selves. Surely this means they have nothing to hide. I kept in touch with them, and I soon met all her siblings. She has 3. Then I introduced them to my family, and I was happy they got along. Mum suggested then that the next step is to invite my future in-laws to my parents' house and take my fiancée there so she could finally work on the dispute that she had with them. She never told me, and when we asked her parents, they didn't know either. So what could it be then? Is maybe his fiancée hiding an embarrassing, shameful history where she's come across as a complete a-hole to everyone, and so she's shut contact with all of them so no one can expose her? Or is it a very complicated issue with some real a-hole parents who are refusing to admit that they're the problem here? Yeah, it's absolutely the latter. When my fiancée got there, she screamed,
What are they doing here?
and ran out. I have never heard her raise her voice like this before. I ran after her, but she just drove off. I went back and apologized. Her mum was crying her eyes out, and so were her sisters. Her dad and brother looked cut up. Now, just a reminder of the issues of sexual assault and suicide in this story, because yes, what is revealed is very, very dark. When I went home, she was crying and packing. She told me that she needed to move out and that she was staying with her friends. I also started crying and asked her to tell me what happened. When she was 18, her brother, 19 at the time, assaulted her best friend's little sister, then 17. He apparently had feelings for this girl for years, but she was never interested. So one New Year party, he waited until she was very drunk and assaulted her. He later boasted about how he finally had her and now can move on. He got away with it, even when everybody knew he did it, but there was no evidence. My fiancée tried everything to help convict him because she was the one who overheard him boasting to his friends and discuss what he did to that girl. My fiancée's family did everything to protect him. A year later, the girl ended her life. That broke my fiancée, who still suffers from severe depression. She said the indifference in her family's reaction when they found out about the girl's fate still makes her blood freeze in her veins. She said she could never forgive them. The way she was talking, like this happened yesterday, I felt sick, and I wish I didn't have to ask. I have seen her brother and how proud her parents are of their only boy, who's successful and a father of 2. I apologized and begged her to stay. I told her that had she told me all of this before, I would have never brought them back to her life. She said that I should have trusted her judgment since I always boasted about how kind and just she was. She called me later and told me that she couldn't do this anymore. Today she left the ring while I was at work and took the last of her stuff. I feel like my world has turned upside down. Tell me what I should do to make her forgive me. She's so angry with me and my family, and I totally understand her. Mum says that my fiancé is being overdramatic now, and all of this has happened so long ago and we should all move on since her family still loved and wanted her back. I don't know what to do.
Bro, you should cut out your mum from your life. What is this? Overdramatic because you caught your brother assaulting a woman? Also, let's just point this out. Who was the one who suggested all this?
mummy dearest, wanting to have a perfect little family. And here she is again, also suggesting to bring the future in-laws into all of this. Like, mate, I want to call you the absolute idiot in all of this, but I also feel like you're not so much the idiot in the choices you made, but in the blind ignorance you have towards just agreeing with whatever your mother has said here.
Oh gee, my partner clearly doesn't like her family or talking about them. I know, I'll shove them in her face!
Anyway, it turns out he has an update here. God morning. What a rough night I had after trying to read all your comments, DMs, and messages. Filled with nightmares. I have called my fiancée before breakfast. I told her that I love her more than she even knows, and that I know she loves me. That I never in a million years thought people who loved each other this much would break up. I apologized and promised to make it up to her for the rest of my life if she gave me a second chance. I told her that we can move away from our families, and I promised her that it would be the two of us from now on. Nobody will have a say in how we live our lives but us. She was crying the whole time, and I must admit that I'm not a crier myself, but I haven't stopped crying since yesterday. I hope she gives me a chance to make it up to her. Cheers. So how do you handle such a olive branch from the husband here? Well, no longer a husband, eh? Look, this is him just paraphrasing what was all said and stuff, but I feel starting it with this whole idea that, I know you love me, and this is not even fair, that's not what people do. Like, okay, buddy, people also don't try to rope family members back into their lives who they've clearly cut off for some understandable reason if it's been for this long. And this top comment says right here, yes. Bringing up the whole idea, yep, mom suggested that, mom suggested this, thinks all this. The problem is, you and your mother, and if your fiancé ever forgives you, and you guys do intend to get married, you need to rethink the amount of control and access your mother has to you and your relationship. You also need to learn how to respect boundaries and trust your fiancé's judgment. I mean, you should have never went behind her back like this. You could have asked her why she was no contact with her family, or just respect the fact that she doesn't have a relationship with her family at all, and just trust her judgment. But now I can understand that it wasn't a case of him not trusting her. It was clearly some exciting thing that he felt he could have brought the families all together. This relationship is already perfect. I know how I can make it even more perfect by being the standout guy who brought his partner's family back into the good books. To quote a comment here, my girlfriend has been no contact with her family for 20 years, but me and my no-nonsense mum know better and overstepped all boundaries to pull her ghastly family into her life, and would you believe it? She doesn't trust or want me anymore. Mum thinks she's super dramatic. At least I'll always have mum and her stellar judgment. In the future, whenever I feel bad about myself, I will think about this post and feel better, knowing that I never fricked up this bad. But that said, do you think that he deserves a second chance in this? I totally understand the other side of it, but I kind of think it's valid for him to request another chance. Again, I don't think this was done with any sense of malice, like the mother here has clearly caused it to become. He's an absolute idiot, very ignorant. He definitely owes her a lot after this, bringing up like a almost 20-year-long trauma, like just bringing that back into her life, into the fold. Of course, hindsight's 20/20, you can always say, oh, you could have done this, blah, 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 but end of the day, yeah, this is her choice, and she's still absolutely valid to leave him because of this. Anyway, let me know what you think down below, and for now, we'll move on to the next story. Now, perchance you might remember this tale about the fella who, always being made fun of by her, or by his brother-in-law, decides, you know what, okay, you think I look feminine all the time, I'll dress up feminine. I'll act girly, I'll be as womanly as you claim I am. And it ended up possibly causing that relationship to fall apart. Well, there is an update. A very messed up update, we might add there. Now, for those unfamiliar with the story, I will read the originals now. I'll leave a time code down below. For those of you already familiar with the story, you can go straight to the update. But to catch you up to speed, I, 20 male, to put it bluntly, look like a girl. Definitely a flat-chested one, but still, I guess I'm just unlucky in the genetics department. Most people think I'm just a tomboy, but still, it gets a bit annoying, people thinking I'm a girl. I'm pretty comfortable with myself now, but I did used to get bullied a lot for it and can be a bit sensitive about it. My sister, who's 26, and her husband, who's 30, are always making jokes about it. I've told him to stop, but he never does, since it's all just jokes. I've gotten sick of it and wanted to get him back instead of being my usual timid self not saying anything. I went out of my way to get some friends and younger sister to give me a makeover a little before they were to come over. Basically, make me look as girly as possible. They did a pretty good job, and turns out if I'm all made up, I look like a lot younger version of my older sister. When they came over, I made sure to act as girly as possible. He was visibly very uncomfortable, so I was definitely winning this one. They left very early, and I got a text from my sister calling me an a-hole for making her husband uncomfortable. She told a few family members, but most are on my side, but a few do think that what I did was childish and in a-hole territory. So am I the a-hole? And in an edit, got a text from my sister that I'm a giant piece of Schmidt and ruining her marriage. I don't think I'll be seeing them anytime soon, but just in case, I'm going to try and have a proper conversation with my parents about everything and see if we can not have them in the house for a while. Since I only pay rent to live with them, I don't really get a say, but I hope my parents can support me. First update just a month ago. Thank you everyone for all the feedback, positivity, acceptance, and some laughs from the comments. It's been a wild few days. I had to sit down with my parents and had a big talk about my feelings. They agreed that my sister's husband wouldn't be welcome in the house anymore. The only reason they didn't do or say anything about it is because they thought it didn't bother me, and no, I'm a tough cookie. They apologized for that and said they would speak out more in the future if anything like this happens again. My older sister had been texting me a lot, calling me all sorts of names, saying I'm ruining her marriage. She also visited yesterday, and as soon as she came into the house, she started screaming at me, and things got heated. So, my parents also banned her from coming over, till she can apologize for her behavior and letting her husband continue to make me uncomfortable. On a more positive note, I've been exploring myself a lot these couple days with my twin sister. She told me not to call her my younger sister, but we are a day apart, so I'll always call her my younger sister, lol. It's all in good fun. She helped me a lot with clothes and makeup, even experimenting with what pronouns I like. I think I may be trans, but there's still a lot of exploring to do. I hope it's a worthwhile update for some of you. It's not exciting or drama-filled, but things are working out, and it's at least an exciting time for me, even with some of the negativity. I do have to say, though, thank you so much, brother-in-law. I wouldn't have explored my identity without you. So that was the story so far. Clearly a creepy situation where the brother-in-law's very confused about their feelings. Oh no, I'm attracted to femininity, but this male looks feminine. Ah! To reiterate what I said in the last time I read the story, being attracted to the feminine doesn't mean you're gay just because they're a man. Just because you think a man has a really nice butt doesn't mean you're suddenly into men, sir. It just means you're into nice butts. But anyway, the next update was 9 days ago. Everything has been quiet from my older sister and brother-in-law. Me and my other sisters have been having a blast helping me explore my identity. I even went out clubbing with them dressed up, and it was so fun. I've been going by she, her since my last update, and by a different name to see how it feels, and it's felt right. But who knows, maybe I like those pronouns and I might not be trans. Either way, exploring takes a while and I'm learning, and you can always discover more about yourself. On a less positive note, my brother-in-law and sister being quiet and not seeing them came to a quick end last night. Brother-in-law came to the house drunk, mumbling things about how I ruined his marriage, calling me names and other bullshit. He went to the side of the house and entered through the back door that we never lock. It was very scary in the moment. He came after me and tried to push my head into his crutch, and when that didn't work, he tried pulling my pants down and pushed me to the ground. Thankfully, my sister was there to pull him off and threaten him with a kitchen knife. He left right away, and we called the police and my parents, who were out at the time. My parents came straight away, but police didn't show up till 2 hours later to basically just say they can't do anything, and that if we want, we can go to the courthouse for a restraining order. I'm gonna pray to whatever deity exists out there that it is simply a case of them not having enough evidence to properly chase this man down. But like, come on, if that was not clear attempted assault, what? My parents tried calling and texting my sister to tell her what happened and why he did what he did, but all she texted back was frick off. I'm very shaken up right now, but I'm not going to let it get to me. My parents are going to get me a psychologist so that I can talk about this and other problems I feel, and maybe also help me explore my identity a bit. I'm sorry this wasn't a more positive update than my previous one, but I always appreciate the support of everyone on Reddit, even if there are a few a-holes. So yeah, much darker update to how the story was going. I hope she absolutely goes to the psychologist and helps herself with this issue, as well as grabs that restraining order. Please, madam, do not let this man have any power over you. An insightful comment here, though, pointing out that please have someone check on your older sister. The frick off could have been her drunk abusive ex using her phone. Like, maybe not, but she may need help. He's trash and her marriage just exploded. Like, if she isn't hurt, see if she will go to counseling because he fricked her up badly. Yeah, look, while she was an absolute a-hole in the previous stories, this might clearly just be a case of her trying to project the issue onto the OP here and not, you know, her a-hole husband. Like, dude suddenly seen the younger sibling of this family he's married into looking like a hotter, younger version of his partner. Now, to any sane man, that's not a big deal at all. That's just, okay, a younger version of the woman I'm now with. But to an Andrew Taintlicker, that this man likely is, well, he can't handle this sudden destruction to his perfectness. I don't know, it doesn't make sense to me. Just sounds like a man trying to hide some clear case of subtle pedophilia in him. In some more subtle armchair psychology here, but oh, this is wow. I think it's pretty obvious that brother-in-law has been wanting to frick the OP for a while now. That's why he was making all of those rude jokes. He was covering up for the same smex attraction. When the OP dolled himself up like a girl and showed it to the brother-in-law, that was too much for him, and he couldn't suppress his desires anymore. The wife probably saw the look on his face and realized how turned on he was by her little brother. That's why she said that the little brother ruined her marriage. Yeah, she knew. She knew way before this went down. That's why it was a smash cut right to an explosion. And look, whether or not this is true or this is just completely jumping to conclusions as if we're in an Olympic race, it's still an insightful thing to kind of talk about here. So the brother-in-law was negging OP all this time, but I imagine the sister thought he was doing some good old-fashioned homophobia. That look you described destroyed any plausible deniability. He's probably turned on by femboy-looking cis dudes, and even more so to trans women. The sister might know things from looking at her husband's search history or whatever. Anyway, the brother-in-law ruined their marriage by not being honest with himself or his wife. Compulsive heterosexuality ruins lives. There are a million arrangements they can have where he pursues his interests with consensual partners outside of the family, and sister can do the same. So there you go, a new little buzzword for you to use in arguments about dudes who can't comprehend that it's okay to actually be attracted to things that aren't completely just heterosexual women. Though in a good counter-argument, there's also being faithful to your partner. The brother-in-law is probably just bi. But these are their ramblings, let me know yours. For now, let's move on to the next story. Let's move on to something a bit more heartwarming in r/relationships. I unwittingly created a family with my next door neighbor and her son. About 3 years ago, a woman named Cassie, who's 32, and her son Kenny, 13 male, moved into the apartment next door. They had a few boxes, so I figured I, 31 male, would offer to help and get off to a good start. I noticed Kenny had a PS4, so I told him that I game as well, and he was free to come over and play my systems anytime he wanted if his mother allowed it. I have a PS5, Switch, and a PC, as an FYI. Now, since I'm a mechanic, I told Cassie if she had car trouble, she could come to me anytime as well, since I help out a lot of other people on the floor with their cars as well. She accepted. Now, I didn't really interact with either Kenny or Cassie besides a few heys for a few weeks initially, but a little more than a month after moving in, Cassie knocked on my door and asked if I could check her car because the engine wasn't turning over. Turns out the spark plugs needed to be changed, which was easy enough to do. Cassie was very thankful for my help and offered to pay, but I told her it was no problem. She invited me to dinner with her and Kenny, and I was hesitant to accept, but she insisted on it. The next day we had dinner, and it was a good time. I learned a lot about her, and we talked about Kenny more. He's a good kid, really into games, science, and his guitar. We even all went over to my place for some Mario Kart. Well, as we all know, if you bring someone over to play Mario Kart with you, then that's clearly a serious relationship. You're dating now. You're married. From then on, I got really close to Kenny. I viewed him like a little brother. He came over to play my games almost every day, and I even started teaching him about cars. I've even brought him to my shop to introduce him to tools. He's a quick study, and he even told Cassie he wants to be a mechanic like me. I told him to aim higher and become an engineer. He's now even looking into engineering programs. I think Cassie really appreciated our relationship. She became a lot more friendly with me. I got COVID during lockdown, and out of the kindness of her heart, she brought me groceries, cleaned my apartment, and even took care of me. I was totally grateful. She even cooks dinner for me every night, and we all have dinner together. She even makes dinner for me when I work late and leaves it in my apartment. The other day, Kenny brought one of his friends over to his apartment. I met the friend, and he said, "This is OP. He's like my dad." Not gonna lie, that took me by surprise. I always viewed Kenny as my little brother, but here he is saying that I'm like a dad to him? I asked Cassie about this, and she seemed surprised I even asked. She said that she would never force that role on me, but that he did view me as his father. He even hoped that me and Cassie would get together so that we can be a real family. Cassie then said she wouldn't mind that either. I asked her if she was asking me out. She just smiled and said yes. I was surprised, but said okay. So, we have a dinner date this weekend, and I'm nervous as all hell. I don't want to ruin things with Cassie and or Kenny. I really do love both of them, but I'm not sure how I feel about being a father figure for Kenny. It's a lot of responsibility, and I'm not entirely sure I'm the guy for that. And Cassie, well, she's a really amazing woman. I just hope I can measure up to her expectations. In just asking Reddit, are my worries unfounded? Like, should I put up some boundaries between me and Kenny? Like, how do I not screw up with Cassie? I think these comments nail it. It sounds like you were already doing all the responsibility and relationship things, and doing them well. Like, aside from intimacy, like, what more do you think there is to all this? Oh, it's just a change, I guess. Like, before, I was more than fine doing it, because I love doing it. But now it seems like I have to. Like, I'd be breaking their hearts if I didn't do what was expected of me, and maybe even more. Maybe I'm just overthinking it. I guess I was just surprised is all. But hey man, that's a valid thing to fear here. You feel like your generosity is now becoming the minimum expectation of you. Like it's not just a next door neighbor you have to help out every now and again, it's your partner. It's no longer just generosity, it's expectation. But of course then we got to understand, what is the actual minimum requirement in relationships? Your minimum requirement isn't to be doing all the things you were doing in the first place. The minimum requirement is to respect your partner as an equal being that you love and care about. You don't always have to fix their car the moment they need you to. You don't always have to be available for Kenny the moment he wants you to be available for him. You can still do those things out of the generosity of your heart, which you clearly just naturally have, which is what they clearly love about you. But it should not fully define you or always be expected of you. And as this comment replies to it, you are overthinking. These two so naturally blended into your life, you hadn't even realized what was forming. Like, all you're doing now is a label, and maybe adding some physical affection to the mix. Yeah. Yeah, it's scary because what if it doesn't work out? But honestly, any big life change might have made you guys move away. Ending was always a possibility, but now beginning is there too. And yeah, just because you have to do something now doesn't mean you can't enjoy doing it. I mean, life is about learning to love doing these things, and clearly you already love it, so you just need to stop worrying about the implications and just keep doing what you normally do. You will still love doing it. Yeah, this is some romance novel schmidt, and I am here for it. Ooh yeah, Kid's dad is going to come back in the picture, OP is going to catch them in a mildly compromising position, and rather than allow her to explain it, he's going to storm out, they'll encounter each other in the park around Christmas time with a light snow falling. After an awkward conversation, they'll reaffirm their feelings for one another. Roll credits. Anyway, yeah, overall, I think, like, as this comment does bring up here, this relationship really has just started as a relationship should. Getting to know each other as just genuine friends, getting to understand who the genuine person is before all the bells and whistles that people usually resort to chasing on Tinder and dating apps where you can get it like that. Only to realize that was never fulfilling in the first place, and you're actually lonely. I just think with today's dating climate, it's very hard for people to perceive the fact that this is actually a way that you can develop a relationship with someone, where you've just gone through life together so casually to the point where, yeah, the only thing missing between you two now is that more confrontational intimacy and having the label. Anyway, with that said, and now that the whippersnipper outside is turned on, we shall end today's video there. Thank you once again for watching today's video. Super happy you made it today all the way to the end. Look at you finishing things. You can tick this off your to-do list. Yep, there you go. You've made a progressive choice in your day today. You can happily eat all the ice cream you want now. I am allowing it. Unless you're a woman, then I didn't say anything at all because I believe in your independence and free autonomy.
but you have to drink water. That's the law.
Yeah, I'll be sexist about that and tell you what to do as a man. Anyway, love your face. Ramble over. See you next time. Bye-bye.